Amen.
So last week, I told you about this story, how I joined a buddy in running a race, and I thought I was running a 5K, but somehow I got put into a herd of people who were running a half marathon. And towards the end of this race, I realized this is the wrong race. And as I reflected on it, a week later, years later, I began just to constantly think about how many of us often find ourselves running the wrong race. And I think it's really important for us, if we're going to be steadfast, to be the kind of people who know where we're headed, who know the right finish line. I meet so many people, and I'll have conversations with them, and they have no idea of their goal, no idea of their finish line. They have no desire whatsoever, and they just find themselves kind of drifting through life, and that's not a steadfast kind of life. I want you to know something. When you look to the life of Jesus, he was someone who was so determined, so steadfast. He knew what race he was running, and he invites us to follow his example. Today, I want to tell you that if you're going to run this race towards a goal to be more Christ-like, to be like Jesus, to go after something that God has put on your heart, you are going to have to master perseverance. And many of us, we give up, don't we? Many of us, we have this chance, this opportunity, this exciting thing that we are pursuing, and then it gets hard, and we give up. But look at Jesus. Shame, betrayal, people who were saying things about him, religious leaders who were trying to shut him down. No, he didn't quit. He kept persevering. And today I want to teach you about the requirements of perseverance. But before that, let's jump to Hebrews chapter 12. This is this: let us throw off everything that hinders in the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Let us run with perseverance the race that was marked out for us. Let's be like Jesus. We can always look to him. He is the pioneer. He's leading the way. He is the perfecter of our faith. And what he went through, he invites us to go through. And what he did, he invites us to do. But it requires us to have perseverance. So, I want to unpack this for you. And for me, I want to let you know that in my journal, I've kind of written down, I'm referring to this summer as the summer of faithfulness. From now until Labor Day, I want to actually grow in these areas of my life. When it comes to my own formation, spiritual formation, there's some key areas that I want to take the next step in my development as a Christ follower. With my family, with my wife, with my kids, with my church family, with you. There are some specific goals that I have in this summer with my friends. I want to have this tribe of people, this community, people who know the hard things, the good things, the beautiful things, the struggles. Fitness, I need a lot of work there. Food, I want to learn to stop eating. I mean, you are what you eat. I need some goals and some discipline, man, and fun. I have some specific goals for how I want to make this summer just so much fun. And then finances. Did you know, I've been telling my son, man, I want you to go to college. I want you to go to college. And then I saw how much Northwestern costs. And I was like, you're not going to college? But I gotta work on that, right? So here are some goals that I want to actually take some ground in. Let me just ask you, do you right now have some goals for the summer? You can't have perseverance if you don't have a finish line. If you don't have something specific, something detailed, and if you don't have any, feel free, cheat off me, copy, do whatever you need. But please, Own something, name something, write something down, tell something to someone that say, you know what, this summer, I want to grow in this area. But you got to understand, if this is something that you want to grow in, the first requirement of perseverance is you got to have passion. You got to have determination. You got to have enthusiasm. You got to have this inner energy, motivation, this desire to actually get towards your goal. If you don't have that, you're not going to actually accomplish this. So don't just write something down like, I'd like to have a thriving marriage. No. Get it more specific. And make sure that that is a passion area. You gotta think about this, pray about this. But here's the thing. Many people can easily have this passion. Jesus had this. You know what Jesus' passion was? People. Every person that he met, young and old, didn't matter male or female, didn't matter their race. He wanted to sit with them, hear them, and he wanted to give them access to the power and the presence of God. And his life was to restore, redeem, and renew all of creation and every relationship that he encountered. That was his passion. But every step that he took, every teaching that he gave, every healing and miracle, everything, when you flip through the Gospels, you know what was right around the door? The second requirement of perseverance. It was a problem. It was a trial. It was a test. As so many of us, whenever we start out with this passion, all of a sudden we experience this problem and we just go, I'm done. I give up. And for many of us, it's easy for us just to quit, to stop taking ground, to stop working. For many of us, there's this thought inside our brains that life should be so easy, so safe, and if there is any sense of obstacle or adversity, it must be wrong, and so we back away. You know, the brother of Jesus, his name was James. Can you imagine being the brother of Jesus? I would just be so humbling. Everything he did, you're like, okay, my turn. Oh, that was not very good compared to Jesus. But he's writing to these churches that have been scattered, dispersed. There's much persecution going on. And he writes these words, and I think that they are so applicable today. He says this, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. You see what James is saying is that you are going to face adversity. You are going to face difficulty. You are going to face opposition and obstacles, but please don't ever give up, because you know what? There is a testing, a refining, something powerful that can happen. Your faith can grow. It will produce this perseverance within you so that when you get to the finish line, your goal, you will be mature. You will be complete. You will not lack a thing. How many of you have experienced a test, a trial, a problem, unexpected this week? And all of a sudden, when that happens, the voices internally start to come that just says, oh, you weren't meant for this. You can't do this. Nobody believes you can get through this. Just throw in the towel. Wave the white flag. Just give up. And James is telling a church, and he would tell us today, no, don't. Because there's something in this problem, there's something in this test, there's something in this trial that can actually allow you to grow in resilience, to gain grit, and to become mature, complete, and not lacking a thing. You know what's amazing? Dr. Gary Burge and I were talking, and he was telling me, what happens with problems in the book of James is that you really have two choices. And James is like wisdom literature. And he says, you have the choice to either be wise or a fool. And the wise people go deeper with God in the midst of their testing and trials. But the fools choose to go through it all alone. And the wise, the people who go deep with God, they find themselves growing in faith. But the people who act like a fool, do it all on their own, find themselves in sin. The word test and the word trial in the book of James is the same word that's used for temptation. For many people, when they experience a problem, they all of a sudden start to think, oh my goodness, whose fault is this? They get all blamey. They create villains around them. Or they internalize and they make themselves the victim. And in that, they find themselves susceptible to the enemy's temptation. And it leads to sin. And when you find yourself kind of taking that detour, you find yourself getting farther away from the finish line, which is being made complete, mature, not lacking a thing. But somehow the problems, when they come, we just want to give up. Last night I was playing wiffle ball with my daughter. She's 4 years old. She has the little bat. My son's in the outfield. I pitched to her the first pitch. She hits, and she's just smiling like, I'm awesome. The next 4 pitches, I strike her out. It's just amazing. Swing and a miss, swing and a miss. She's 4 years old. I'm feeling good about myself. She drops the bat, shoulders go down. I quit, and walks in. And there was something inside where at such a young age, if I don't succeed, I should quit. But you know what? Perseverance is, no, grab the bat. Come on. There's something more for you to learn. There's something more in this for you. The third requirement of perseverance, and it's going to seem quite bizarre, quite odd, but it's the word patience. And many of us, if we're honest, struggle with this word. You get to the end of James, and James begins to write. And when you actually see the word perseverance all throughout the New Testament, words like endurance and steadfast are used in the New Testament. But also this word patience. It's used as a synonym throughout the New Testament when talking about perseverance. But why is that? James writes about it, and he says this in chapter 5, verse 8, "You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. And the judge is standing at the door." Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, in the face of adversity, problems and testing and trials, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. You have heard of Job's perseverance, all the problems he had, and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. See, something happens whenever we experience a problem. The invitation, if we are actually going to have perseverance, is not to grumble, not to gossip, not to slander, not to sin, but it's to lean into God.